Hi, everyone. I'm Luis Cruz, Community and Public Relations Director at the San Diego Union Tribune. I'm honored to host tonight's second annual Migrant Voices Film Competition Q&A and announcement of the grand prize winners. Please make sure you comment and add your questions so we can share them with tonight's participating filmmakers. Before we move on to the presentation and bring in the filmmakers, we would like to play a quick welcome video from Jeff Light, publisher and editor of the San Diego Union Tribune.
Hi, I'm Jeff Light, editor and publisher of the San Diego Union Tribune. Welcome to the second annual Migrant Voices Film Challenge, a partnership between the Union Tribune and the San Diego Media Arts Center's Latino Film Festival. The Film Challenge grew out of the migrant caravans of 2018, which brought the eyes of the world to our border. At the time, it seemed like the narrative was overrun by national reporters and giant news organizations that didn't necessarily bring a lot of insight into the real stories of the people and of the moment. So I worked with Ethan Ventillo of the Media Arts Center to put together this effort to prioritize and reward the authentic storytellers of the border experience. Thank you to all of the filmmakers and to you, the audience, for watching their work and spreading the word. And thank you, as always, to the Latino Film Festival for providing a platform for these important voices.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Now let's bring in these amazing filmmakers. Since we have over 11 finalists and limited space on this live stream, we're going to break the Q&A into two groups. And Moises Esparza and Christian from the Media Arts Center San Diego they're helping me out behind the scenes. So let's introduce the first group. We have back home director and writer Pedro Perez Nunez.
How you doing?
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, this is going to be fun. We also have a little Mexican Village director, Jesus Arzola Vega. Let's see if we can get Jesus. And Christian, you let me know if I should just keep going. All right. Well, okay. So let's see. Let's also introduce a Prayer Beyond Borders director, Ala Khan, and producer Dustin Cron. I know Dustin is here. We were speaking before. Hi.
Hi.
And if I mispronounce your name, please feel free to correct me.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Also here tonight, La Tierra que Habitamos, director Marco Celis.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hi, Marco. Farm Fresh director Anthony Puente.
Hi, Luis.
Hi, Anthony. And then we also have El Chaparral inside a Tijuana migrant shelter, perhaps. And if not, let's see. Moises and Christian, you guys tell me if we have. There we go. Isaac Rosenbaum. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Are we missing anyone in this first go ahead? All right. This is our first panel, so thank you all again for joining me this evening. Let's see. Why don't we start with Pedro? Why don't you start with a brief overview of your video in case audiences haven't seen it yet?
Well, Back Home is basically the story about a man finally being able to go back home after a long absence in the U.S. because he becomes an American citizen, and he's able to go back home to see his parents for the first time after a long period of time.
Okay. All right. And then Allah. Is it Allah or?
It's Ella. Like Alas, like wings without the S.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your film?
It's about the border church and the establishment of the border mosque coming together for a bi-national, first ever bi-religious prayer. Communities of faith coming to pray beyond borders.
And Dustin, you worked on this film as well. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, it's a really beautiful story about these communities coming together, and of course the story is continuing, and we're trying to expand it into tell more of the story about how faith communities are making impact at the border today.
Okay, great. And Marco, why don't say the name of your film and tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so La Tierra que Habitamos is a film about two migrants that came here to Tijuana, and they got stuck here once they hit the border, and it's more like a poem about their feelings, about how they feel, and about their trayectoria that they're having to move here trying to move to the States. So yeah.
Okay. All right. And then Anthony, tell us a little bit about your film.
Sure. Yeah, Farm Fresh is about a Oaxacan-born artist that's based in LA, and it talks about his work and his journey from Mexico to the United States and things that have happened between, and how he depicts the migrant experience.
Okay. And Isaac, the name of your film, and tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so my film's called El Chaparral, and it's about it's about a migrant shelter in Tijuana, and it's sort of about that liminal space for people who are trying to get into the U.S.
All right. And so let's just continue with you, Isaac. Where'd you get your inspiration for your film?
That is a great question. So I was actually driving home from Seattle with my brother, and we met a guy at a gas station who was, I'll keep it short, but he was like walking around asking people to help pay for his gas tank. He said it was a social experiment, and we got to talking, and he told me he was on his way to a shelter across the border, and I ended up going with him, and then I ended up going down like 2 or 3 times a week for the next like month or so. So that's like where the idea started, but it turned into this huge process that was really cool.
And how long did it take you to make the film?
It took me about, I want to say like 2 months, 2 or 3, but I still go down there all the time.
Okay. Have you done other films like this before?
Yeah. So this was, that was actually why I said yes why I decided to go down there. I had been doing documentaries. Like I was trying to do one a month, where I would travel somewhere in the U.S. and find a culture that was pretty unique. And I figured, well, I grew up going down to Tijuana, so it's not too far from my house in San Diego.
All right. And how about you, Pedro? Where'd you get the inspiration for your film?
So I don't know if you guys seen the poster, but it says inspired in true events. It's actually my story. It's actually a short film. It's not a documentary. It's a short film. It's only like 3 minutes and a half. The idea came from making a spec commercial to make for an airline, and I wanted to show how you can use an airline to fly over back home, right? And so I got the inspiration because that actually happened to me. I went through the whole process of becoming I was a DACA recipient for like 4 years, and I ended up having advanced parole. So I ended up going back to Mexico after 24 years to go see my grandparents for the first time. Actually, I got to see my grandma because my granddad passed away like 2 years before I had to go. So it's basically like it's like a homage to my grandpa and how it would have been if I would have seen him in the film. So basically, it's me going back home after a long period of time. It didn't happen to my parents are here, thankfully, but it was more about me seeing my grandma after for so long. So it's basically what you see in the film is basically what happened to me going back home for the first time after so many a period of time, So that's basically how the story came about. Yeah.
And where is home in Mexico?
Well, home is in Sonora, Mexico, but my grandma is in Sinaloa, which is Mazatlan, Mexico. So in 2016, I got the chance to go back to see her because she got sick, and I was able to do advanced parole, come back, enter legally, and became a permanent resident. So now I'm good. I can go back anytime I want and anything. But that was basically the inspiration for Back Home, is me seeing my grandma and having. And wanted to feel that feeling to be able to see my grandpa. And when you see the poster, it's actually me. It's kind of like me, a tribute to my grandfather of not being able to see him, because he passed away.
Yeah.
The last time I saw him, I was 8 years old. So that was it. That's what Back Home is.
All right. Wow.
Yeah.
What a story. Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Awesome. Ala and Dustin, why don't you tell me a little bit about where you got your inspiration for your film?
Sure. So it was actually a set of organizing work that we were doing where I was involved in leading the border mosque community, and we really had a goal of bringing the Muslim community to join with the border church community who's been doing this work, led by many people both in Tijuana and San Diego, and we wanted to capture that moment. So this film is actually the first time that binational prayer happened with Muslims and the Christian community, but then it happened about 10 times after that until, of course, COVID started and closed down the U.S. side of the border.
Yeah, and as Dustin said, we also we made the film together, but we also produced that event, and it was the first ever meeting. Mm-hmm. And then also something that was really important to us was creating showing the diversity around who is affected by immigration, and the representation of Latino Muslims is really important to us. We just wanted to bring in Muslim Latino voices, and then just on a personal note too, as both very spiritual and faith-rooted people who are very personally connected to immigration. Pedro, your film made me tear up because I know what it's like to be separated from my family, being undocumented, and then being reunited. So just all those elements together.
Thank you. Yeah, I know I wanted to connect with everybody. I know it would connect to other. It doesn't. You didn't have to be Latino or Mexican to really connect to that story. That's why I did it like that, so everybody could connect with it.
And Ala, how big is the Muslim community along the border?
It's really big. There's actually a mosque less than a mile away from the Mexican border on the Mexican side, and then there's also a mosque on the San Diego side, just as far. Dustin is still a resident there, so he knows a little bit more. But the Latino Muslim community is actually growing very rapidly. There's a lot of conversion and stuff. Actually, everyone in the prayer service that you see in the film is either from Tijuana or Rosarito, really close by.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's great. Anthony, let's move over to you. Farm Fresh, where'd you get the inspiration for your film?
Yeah. So I was doing some work, just my day job as a video producer for the Long Beach Museum of Art. I live in Long Beach, and at the time I was doing a different project for them, and at the time the artist in residence was this artist Narciso Martinez, and he was just finishing up his MFA work at Cal State Long Beach, and he at that time he was just a young artist, and so we kind of connected, just kind of talking. I saw his work, I really gravitated toward it. Move forward a few months, 4 to 6 months, and he was ready for his very first solo exhibition that was going to be at the museum of any kind. That was his first ever exhibition. So the museum reached out to me actually, and since we kind of connected earlier on, he requested me to kind of work on an installation with him for his exhibition. That was only supposed to be a minute long to kind of promote his exhibition, and then it turned into this short 6-minute documentary about his life, about his work, about the work that the migrant field workers are doing in the state of Washington, all over the U.S., but specifically in Washington. And he himself was also a migrant worker for many years, working in the apple orchards, and he still has family members there. And so we were able to kind of collaborate on that. and it became this, something more than it originally planned to be.
Wow. Okay. And Marco, what about your film? Where did you get your inspiration for your film?
So La Tierra que Habitamos, it's a response to what happened on November 2018 here in Tijuana, the movement of the caravan of thousands of migrants that moved in here and got stuck because of the border. And it's a response to all the news where here in Tijuana especially there was a negative response to them, and they were seen as numbers and not as people. They were seen in a negative way. And our main goal with this short film was to contrast two different movements from two different times, between that movement from November 2018 and the movement from March 2016 with the Asian people, like people that come from IT, and trying to contrast them, but bringing in some similitudes between them, right? So both of them are from different color. Maybe they don't speak the same language, but they are here for the same reasons and looking for a dream and looking for the American dream, especially. But once they get meters away from that border, they get stuck here, and that creates something that brings a new feeling of maybe disappointment, or maybe to begin something new. So our short film, we didn't wrote the poem that you listen to when you see the short film. It was written by the two migrants, Austin and Douglas, and those are their words. Those are the words, and it's about how they feel. It's not about numbers. It's not about news coverage. It's about feelings. And our main goal was to try to create empathy with whoever watches it, and so that was the main inspiration: empathy and love between each other, even if we don't speak the same language. So
There you go.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, so this was an original poem then?
Yes, it's totally original. As we, Diego and I, which is my co-director, we knew that we were not in the position to put words into their mouths and about how they feel or how they felt about all the tragedy that they went through, right? So we knew that it was important to be as respectful to them as to everybody else. And the poem is written by them. The only thing we did was mix them up a bit and change a few words so they couldn't make sense between each other, but that was it. And it's their words. So yeah.
And you had them say it in their own language.
Yeah. So Douglas speaks Spanish because he's from Honduras, and Austin because he's from IT. He speaks Criollo. We say it in sorry for my English, for my lack of English, but it's Criollo, and so we knew it needed to be in their native language because that's the most genuine. That's the most genuine that you can be, and you can express yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, great. Let's talk a little bit about what importance do you see movies like yours having on social change and just social change and policies around the border?
Well, I mean, the title of the film is A Prayer Beyond Borders, and a lot of that has to do with breaking them, even within organizing and leftist politics around these issues. Like, there needs to be an understanding that there are other borders that need to be broken down about, like Marco's film talks about, like Haitian, immigration, and there needs to be an understanding about like that there's like a lot of Muslim immigrants, a lot of Arab immigrants. There's like just such a diversity, and like bringing that to the forefront and like an awareness that there's a lot of work to be done in terms of community bridge building to create solidarity and to create coalitions that can work together for empowering those communities and hopefully creating change. And then also really importantly is we wanted to bring the concept of spirituality and the importance of this like the spiritual resilience that we have that like kind of sustain them, keep them united and keep them hopeful. Like yes, it's a very sad subject matter, but we really wanted to focus on this idea of hope and that there's like a greater force behind everything. And spirituality is just so important to so many communities that are being affected by immigration policy. So spirituality and bridge building, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go around the horn here. And Dustin, what sort of message or what do you hope your film accomplishes?
Yeah, I think it brings not only the social impact component, but as Ala was saying, the spiritual impact component, because so much of the work being done in the borderlands is faith oriented. Even now with the protests that are happening with the Kumeyaay tribe trying to stop the building of the wall on their lands. It's faith oriented, right? And I don't think we see that enough in our time. But how do you do that in a film language? And I think that's why our film is very moving, is because it brings in that spiritual element through the cinematography and through the music and through the story.
Isaac, what about you? What kind of message do you hope your movie gets across?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is just how nuanced it is. You know, I remember when it was on the news and how there was two sides of the story and the facts weren't even the same, which is actually one of the reasons why I went down there, was to see what was the truth. So I think it's important for people to say, like, you can't just watch your news sources and get the information that way. You actually have to go down there and see it. And it's a lot more beautiful and messy and complicated and nuanced than you might think. So I think that's the biggest message, is that really you have to sort of get your hands dirty a little bit, like get down there and actually be with the people, spend time with them, talk to them, and see for yourself what's actually happening and what it's actually like to be someone living in one of those shelters.
Mm-hmm. Anthony, what about you? What do you hope your message is for viewers?
Yeah, I think two parts. I think the first part is inspiration. I hope it just inspires, others who are crossing the border, who are coming to the United States, who find themselves in certain situations, just making it, but they have other talents. And hopefully it gives them inspiration to continue their education, continue their artistic expressions, what's really in their heart. And the second part, I think that the artist Narciso also portrays in his work is the work and the importance and the realities that migrant farm workers are kind of having to go through on the daily basis, and the work environments that they have to kind of endure, and the lack of just basic necessities that they have, as well as just the typical American realizing where their food comes from, and the process that it takes to go through, and who actually picks and harvests that food for them.
Yeah. Pedro, what about you? What kind of message do you hope to leave?
I hope people empathize with the immigrant experience, because like Ella said, she actually connected with the story and felt it, even though she's not Hispanic, but she's separated from her family. And there's immigration is it might not be the only thing that separates you from your family. You could be far away. And so even Americans I kind of wanted to show my story and put it out there, and be and just show that you have to empathize with, and like a human story. I wanted to show a human story, and hopefully that's what I did, and I hope I accomplished that by showing that. But so people could feel. I did get a lot of comments from Americans like, "Hey, I didn't know it was that hard. I didn't know it was that hard." Just being separated from your parents is just like, or your kid is like a big struggle on his own. So I just wish people could empathize with the immigrant, and really understand we go through so many struggles and separations.
Right.
That's it.
Right. What about you, Marco?
Yeah, just like Pedro, it's empathy. I agree totally with everyone. It's just about empathy and about trying to look to everybody else as equal, and to look at everybody else as people that can feel something, and that feel and that fight for what they believe in. And maybe if we are from different parts of the world and we speak different languages and we have different color of the skin, we have the same values. We speak the same way. And it's more about love each other and loving each other and empathize with everybody else. That's the main objective. I mean, because that, I think if we go from, it can be a personal story, but like Pedro says, it can go for everybody else in the world, right? Even if it's personal, maybe it's more universal that way. So yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure getting to meet all of you and speaking with all of you. I wish I had more time. We have some more filmmakers that we want to meet tonight. So that'll do it for this discussion. We're going to have to leave it there. But I really enjoyed our discussion and enjoyed meeting all of you. And I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Later, Anthony.
All right. Christian or Moises are going to help me out here transition to our next round. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for hanging in there. We have our next batch of directors we want you to meet. So let's bring them to you. Let's meet one of us director, Fakundo Sosa Ferreira.
Hello, how are you?
Hello. Say your name for me.
Fakundo.
Okay, Fakundo. At least I got that part right. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a Latin name. It's maybe most Argentinian than Uruguayan, but it's very local.
Oh, it's good to see you. Let's also meet Oda a los Frijoles, director and writer Carolina Esqueda.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome, Carolina. Good to see you.
See you too.
Let's meet Music Without Borders director Roberto Knopf. Maybe, quizás.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Hey, so Rob, how do you pronounce your last name?
It's actually German, and it's Knauf.
Knauf.
Yeah, okay. But growing up, I always thought the K was silent and said Knopf. So okay. I've been going with that for 33 years till just found out recently.
Okay, so I wasn't that way off. All right. No. Okay. All right. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's see. We also want to meet El Corrido de la Caravana director Fernanda Ulivari.
Mm-hmm. Hola. Nice to meet you. How are you?
Hola. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Let's also meet La Casa Adentro director Kayla Mulholland.
Hi. Buenas tardes. Soy Kayla.
Hi, Kayla. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
And we'll also meet El Camino de la Cocina director Israel Becerra Espinoza.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Hola, buenas noches. ¿Cómo estás?
Buenas noches. Bien, bien, bien. ¿Y ustedes?
Good, good. Good to see everybody. All right. So
Gracias,
why don't we start with Fakundo? If you can just tell us again the name of your film and just give us a little bit of an overview.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My short, it's called One of Us. And the title was given by our sound recorder and sound director. We were thinking about the screenplay and talking about how we feel about all this general feeling in our country of immigration and how we're dealing with it. And for us, it was very complex to translate that into a film. So we tried to work with the screenwriter on a kind of Black Mirror-esque thing in order to give an insight of what we are living here. I am from Uruguay, and we are having like a flow of people from Venezuela, Cuba, and it's these years it was like it was more prominent. And our country was very open-minded about that. But in Latin America, we are having like a great political change. Many governments are getting like a right-wing presidents. And for us, it was like a big impact because that reflects directly in how we relate and how we react to people who are coming into the country. And I am also an anthropology student, and I had this amazing teacher that worked with immigrants and immigration, and she gave us like a very truthful insight of it. And for me, it was like very painful to watch, to see, and to share those experiences. And I think talking about it to the world was the best way to reflect how we are dealing with all of that and how we feel like being all inhabitants of the earth. We are neighbors, we are brothers, we are sisters, and the issue that the political barriers represent to the people here in Latin America. So I think maybe in this very short screenplay, we could like talk to everyone. What are you doing? How do you feel about that? what are you doing to your brothers, to your sisters, to the other people? You need to give like love, and be aware we're standing in front of those people, And for me, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
For me, it's like a very natural thing to reflect on.
Okay. Thank you so much, Fakundo, for that explanation. Carolina, tell us a little bit about your film, the name of your film, and tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, so my film is a poetic experimental short film about beans. So it kind of started with me just wanting to make something about beans because I realized that I was not eating too many beans, and I kind of connected that with me being away from the border. Like the more away from my country, I'm from Mexico, the farther away from Mexico that I was, the more like disconnected from my roots I became. So I wrote this poem, and then me and my producer and another friend, we made this short film. So in the short film, we make a recipe for beans, but also mix it in with archival footage from immigrants in the United States, whether that is field workers or braceros or people coming in from Ellis Island. So yeah, it's just like a fun literary and visual rendition to beans.
All right. Kayla, the name of your film, and tell us a little bit about it.
The name of my film is La Casa, and it's I'm also an social worker, and I was working in the migrant shelter down in Tijuana, and there short film follows the story of just one of the many women and families that passed the shelter, where they had come from Honduras fleeing violence and ended up staying in the shelter for a long time due to the migrant protocols. Kept them in Mexico for longer than they were expecting. They had to stay in the shelter for many months. When they were finally able to cross the border and get their court date for asylum, the short film follows their trajectory until they make it.
Okay, thank you for that. Fernanda, let's move over to you. Tell us the name of your film and tell us a little bit about it.
The film is called El Corrido de la Caravana, and it's a hybrid of a music video and a short doc. And I am part of a band called the Mexican Stand-Up, and we write songs that talk about issues happening now with immigration. So we wrote this song earlier this year, and I was, we kind of have like this funny way of presenting things, but this is such a dramatic issue that we didn't know how to present it. We wanted to write a song that talked about like the hopes and dreams that this caravan, these people have, basically. And after like thinking about what to do, I decided to contact, I'm sorry to say, but there's a lot of noise. I don't know.
Yeah, can some of you guys maybe mute?
Anyway, so we decided to reach out to people that have been with the caravan, and I contacted Gaba Cortez from Border Angels, and she and her team provided this amazing footage, and we worked for months hand in hand to create the journey that these people have, accompanied by our song that it's El Corrido de la Caravana. And we just wanted, to be honest, like we've heard so many dramatic stories from, you know, these people that we decided that we just wanted to focus on the hopes and dreams that these people have, that we all have. So we thought that it was a good way to make our audience connect with these people. So.
All right, great. Thank you for sharing that with us. Rob, tell us a little about your film.
Yeah, our film was Music Without Borders. It was the short documentary where we followed the choir, basically a binational choir that was made in partnership with UCSD Extension Center here in San Diego. And they actually coordinated a bulk of the event. And then about a month or two prior, we came in to help them basically tell their story. And I was really excited to be a part of this because I'm half Mexican and half German, Luis, like we were talking about my last name. And, you know, it's been interesting growing up having both sides of your culture kind of questioned sometimes. So anytime I can tell a story that involves both sides is very appealing. And our production company was actually based out of a lot of music work. So this was a great culmination of a lot of the things that I enjoy was shooting documentary and also coordinating the binational aspects of San Diego is 30 minutes from Tijuana and they're a world apart. And so it was really, I mean, I love going down there and it's very different when you get very close to the border wall on each side. And so it was really exciting to tell that story. And when it involves music, Fernanda knows how powerful music can be. And so it was just right up our alley. And we just really liked that it was all sorts of cultures also involved within this. I mean, it was a Canadian band coming down, making a choir on the USA side with the Mexico side, singing a British band song. So it was just an awesome story that we were lucky to tell. And you know, we had a crew on both sides. I think they were wondering if we would be willing to go to the Tijuana side, but we jumped all over it, and that was, you know, our crew filming on that side. It was just a really fun experience to tell that story and, yeah, just be a part of it all.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Israel, let's go to you. Tell us about your film and yeah, and the name of your film and a little bit about it.
Bueno, pues el nombre de mi documental es El Camino de la Cocina. Pues este documental aborda lo que es cómo los migrantes haitianos que llegan a Tijuana, cómo es que la cocina es una manera de sustento para ellos pues en Tijuana, ya que fue en el 2012 que ellos llegan no, fue en el 2010 que ocurren los desastres naturales y ellos tienen que emigrar. Muchos de ellos migran a Brasil cuando son los Juegos Olímpicos. Entonces, muchos migraron también a Estados Unidos. Entonces, como Estados Unidos no podía recibir a muchos de ellos, muchos decidieron por quedarse en Tijuana. Entonces, su gastronomía fue un punto muy importante para ellos poder sobrevivir aquí en lo que es la frontera. Y pues gracias a la globalización que ha habido en Tijuana y en el mundo, ellos se han podido adaptar con su gastronomía, pues lo que es en Tijuana. Entonces, mi documental habla sobre eso, de cómo ellos con su gastronomía pueden sustentarse en la ciudad. Y tenemos de protagonistas a dos haitianos muy amigos, me hice muy amigos de ellos, que es de Michel y Yolanda. Michel es un joven que vende aguas aguas frescas por la ciudad, va en su carrito. Y él nos platica cómo es que gracias a la venta de sus aguas él puede estar en la ciudad. Nos cuenta en el mismo documental, cuenta cómo es que él quiere superarse, que ya no se quiere ir de Tijuana, él se quiere quedar aquí y él quiere superarse, quiere algún día poner un puesto, ya no quiere trabajar en su carrito, se quiere superar, junto con Yolanda también, que ella hace platillos típicos de Haití. como lo es el arroz, el pollo frito, plátano frito, entre otros platillos. Y la verdad que durante el rodaje pues nos tocó probar mucho de su comida y la verdad es que es muy rica. Además de pues que no es algo para nosotros normal su gastronomía, bueno, no es algo muy común su gastronomía. A pesar de eso, la verdad que es un platillo muy rico que no sería como que probar algo raro, es algo muy rico, la verdad. Y pues este documental salió gracias al proyecto es un laboratorio documental de la universidad, de Tijuana. Este documental fue con el que yo me titulé de la universidad.
Okay.
Y pues gracias a que fue un proyecto que mis compañeros, nuestro coordinador de la carrera nos ayudó mucho a echarlo adelante, pues ahora sí que fue un proyecto que quedó muy bien y pues la verdad le agradezco mucho todo el trabajo a mis compañeros y a mi coordinador. Y pues sí, es un poquito lo que es mi trabajo.
Te iba a preguntar, ¿dónde agarraste la idea para esta película y por qué querías enseñar pues estas dos personas pues en tu película?
Ajá. Sí, la gastronomía siempre ha sido un tema que a mí me ha gustado mucho, entonces se me hizo como que muy fascinante cómo es que gracias a la globalización puedes, no sé, un ejemplo, puedo yo como mexicano, a lo mejor si me voy a otro país, a otro lugar del mundo, a lo mejor con nuestra gastronomía, podría llegar como que a los locales de otro país, ¿no? Y es como ellos nos traen como que un pedacito de lo que es su cultura. Y también bueno, mi pregunta del documental mientras lo hacía era, ¿qué es lo que hace especial como la gastronomía? Entonces era, pues todos nos sentamos en familia a comer, ¿no? Entonces para mí es algo como que muy familiar, te acerca mucho a la familia, a tu cultura. Entonces así como ellos llegan aquí con su cultura, con su gastronomía, es para ellos como traerse un pedacito de su tierra. Entonces eso me llamó mucho la atención y fue eso como que lo que me motivó a hablar sobre ese tema.
Bueno, muchas gracias, Israel. Let's see if we can go around one more time. Fakundo, what kind of message do you want to leave people with your film?
I think the message should come from you as a viewer, because I believe cinema is a very powerful media to tell a story, and I from a storyteller perspective, maybe I don't like to give a straight message, but a way to think and an opportunity to think. And the trigger, maybe it's the word I like to use more, it's to think how you think about the people that you relate to, especially the ones that came from other places on earth. You know, we as Uruguayans should not create a barrier, a limit between people. We're all the same, and that's why the title invites you to reflect. You know, you are one of us, and how we can act on those things. That's like the cue of the short. I have like these two words: the world inside the TV and the decision made from the people who are behind the TV, watching, deciding on their lives. And the question maybe to rise is, should we decide on other lives, on other people's life? You know, raise the question, think about the other people, who's not who you are reflects on the other people. Maybe that's the thing.
Yeah. We have a comment from Jesus Nebot on Eventive. Says, great selection of short films. Thanks so much to all the filmmakers for their truly timely and poignant stories to humanize the immigration experience. That's a beautiful comment there. Another comment from Robert Huey. Me parece una historia nunca contada. Buen trabajo. Fue un placer verla. So thanks for those comments. Keep them coming. Carolina, what's the message you hope to leave viewers with?
I believe that, especially now, I wanted to make sure that everyone can see how fundamental field workers and immigrants are in this country. I mentioned it before in another interview, but the forest fires that were happening here in California, there were still people picking up, fruit and everything in the fields. So they were still out there working throughout the whole pandemic. They've been working in the fields, risking their lives. So I think for me, it's really important to make sure that everyone can see that, how we like beans, like they're so sustainable, right? But immigrants are such a I don't know, like a breaking point of like where we all come from in a way.
Yeah. Kyla, what about you? What's the message you hope to leave viewers with? And I believe you're still on mute, Kayla.
I think
there you go.
Oh, the main message from my film is the importance of asylum and humanitarian policies for migrants, and also the importance of teachers that exist in Tijuana. A lot of them are working as volunteers, but definitely how critical asylum is. The fact that the U.S. Once COVID started in March, well, first they started the policy of migrant protection policy, which about a year ago they were leaving the migrants in Mexico to wait for their asylum claims and their hearings that were in the United States, which put them at a complete disadvantage. And most of the people trying to get asylum were not able to make it to the U.S. because of that barrier that the Trump administration put in place. And not only that barrier, ever since COVID, they've stopped doing asylum hearings, and the administration has used it as an excuse to no longer accept cases at all. The majority, as a lot of the people that have worked with migrants, especially if they've been in Tijuana, they know that the majority of people seeking asylum really are fleeing violence and their lives are at risk, and they have a lot of times a lot of children and a lot of vulnerabilities. They're not from Mexico, so to be left in Mexico was one issue, but now the fact that they're not letting asylum claims go forward at all right now is something that we should all be really frustrated about, and pushing our government officials to change those policies. So I'm hoping that with our film, it can show the benefits of asylum, because the woman was one of the few that actually was able to make it through during the migrant protection protocols, because we had hired lawyers and made sure that they got through. But the importance of social workers, the importance of the shelter workers, the volunteer workers, and pushing our politicians to implement humane policies and to continue asylum, because it's absolutely necessary for these people.
Yeah. Thank you, Kayla. Fernanda, what about you? What's the message you hope to leave viewers with?
As I said before, what we, as a team really wanted to do is just to empathize with like the hopes and dreams that we all have now, that they manifest in different ways, and to show how brave these group of people are to like really like leave everything behind to look for a better life. I think that's just like one of the bravest things I've seen some people do, and just celebrate those dreams.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
Rob, what about you?
For us, I mean, I guess a common theme with everyone's films is empathy, and that's why we want to kind of tell all these stories, and I just want to commend all the other filmmakers. All their stories are super inspiring, and these are stories that need to be told. And so under, trying to be more empathetic and hoping people are empathetic, I think there's also a level of understanding that you may not fully understand where people are coming from or their struggles. And I think understanding that is a huge component of being empathetic. And so I think our film hopefully inspired that a little bit of communication is needed. Talking with people that are outside of your small circles is important. On our film, I was able to go onto the Tijuana side with Nobu, which it was his first time in Tijuana, and he was from Canada, and so we ended up basically being a Sherpa for him of sorts. And it was very interesting to see his perspective for the first time, and just the juxtaposition of the TJ side being way more lively and almost welcoming versus the American side in the Friendship Park of all names is a little more cold, and we couldn't get up to the wall. And it was very interesting to just kind of see someone's experience for the first time seeing that, where it's maybe a little more normal for all of us. And so I think just inspiring some sort of communication within different cultures and not being afraid of people just because they're different or trying to be right just to talk at people is a huge part for us. So that and music. One of my favorite lines from the interview was when the female said, even if you don't understand it, you feel it. And that goes back to music being a big part of every culture. And hopefully, if anything, we made you feel good watching our film.
Yeah, I love that. I love that saying. Israel, ¿cuál es el mensaje que quieres dejar con la gente que ve tu documental?
Pues mi mensaje principal es cómo la gastronomía es un transporte para nuestras culturas, para culturas ajenas, para nosotros conocer otras culturas, ¿verdad? Y pues sí, el mensaje principal es que tú, aunque estés fuera de tu ciudad, puedes llevar como que ese recuerdo, porque para mí la gastronomía es un lenguaje universal, que si a lo mejor tú no hablas un idioma y pruebas la comida de otra cultura, ya estás conociendo de ella, ya estás siendo un poquito más parte de ella, los estás conociendo. Entonces también es como llevar esta parte familiar contigo siempre. Por ejemplo, ellos que migran a Tijuana, y aunque no estén en su país, ellos sentándose en la mesa, comiendo sus platillos, los platillos de su cultura, ellos se sienten como que están en su país. Entonces así es como, aunque estés lejos de tu país natal, sentándote en una mesa con tu familia, te vas a sentir en casa. Entonces ese es el mensaje principal, cómo la gastronomía puede ser un transporte y un lenguaje universal a donde quiera que vayas.
Yeah, I love that message as well. Great job.
Gracias.
Great job, everybody. It's been a pleasure meeting all of you. Love your films, and I wish you all the best of luck. Now we are going to move on to another very exciting part of tonight's presentation, which is to announce the big winners. So, Moises, how should we do this? Thanks, guys. All right. Let's see here. All right, the big winners. We need a drum roll. In the emerging filmmaker artist under 25 category, the winner is The Kitchen Path, El Camino de la Cocina, directed by Israel Becerra Espinosa. Israel, ¿dónde estás? Felicidades. Felicidades, wow. Israel.
Muchas gracias.
¿Hay algo que quieras decir?
Estoy muy nervioso. Pues primero que nada quiero felicitar a todo mi crew de la universidad, de la Universidad de Tijuana, pues a cada uno de ellos, a mi productor, Andrés. Quiero agradecer a mi fotógrafa, Samantha Alcántar, que estuvo siempre con nosotros a todos lados, a mi editor, Liván, que siempre estuvo ahí editando todos los clips y apoyándonos un montón, al coordinador de la carrera, Alex González, y pues a todo el crew quiero felicitarlos a todos, y pues nada, sería todo.
Felicidades otra vez.
Muchas gracias.
On behalf of the San Diego Union Tribune, we are proud and honored to provide you with a $1,000 cash prize for the great work you did on your movie. So, felicidades.
Muchas gracias, muchas gracias.
That's awesome. Loved your film, by the way. Great job.
Muchas gracias.
All right, and now let's meet the grand prize winner in the Professional Journalist Filmmaker Media Arts category. The winner is La Tierra que Habitamos, The Land We Live In, directed by Marco Aurelio Celes and Diego Quintero. Marco, where are you?
I'm here.
Hi, on behalf of the San Diego Union Tribune, we are proud and honored to provide you with a $5,000 cash prize for the great work you did on your movie. And would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much. Thank you very much for this honor. I feel really fortunate to be amongst all these other filmmakers that I really admire their work, and just thank you to the San Diego Latino Film Festival and to all the organizations and San Diego Union Tribune for organizing this opportunity to make the films about our current situation, which is migration, the border, and if we are still making these kinds of films, is because the subject still matters. So I really mean it. I really appreciate it in behalf of my team, in behalf of Douglas, in behalf of Austin, of Diego, Raul. We are really grateful for this honor, and we are really happy. And I mean, I don't know. I'm lack of words. I'm sorry, but thank you very much. It's really humbling as well. Thank you very much.
Great job, great film. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Marco and Israel. Congratulations again on winning the second annual Migrant Voices Film Competition. And thank you, everyone, for viewing tonight's Q&A. Please continue to support this year's 27th Virtual San Diego Latino Film Festival. It runs until September 27th. It runs until September 27th. Thank you, and have a great night, everybody.